So Tony, you started your rugby league career at Illawarra. I'm an Illawarra junior. I do remember you coming through. You and Brian coaching there. How was that, mate?
Yeah, it was good. I spent 6 of my early years as a player learning my trade at the Illawarra club before they were merged up with St George. A beautiful part of the world.
It is.
I've got to say, I'm envious. I wasn't born and bred there like you were, but I had 8 years living in the Wollongong area and Illawarra area, and loved every moment of it.
And playing under your brother Brian, how was that?
Yeah. I didn't play a lot under him at that stage. He was coach there and head coach. It took me a few years to get into the first team, and he'd moved on by the time I cracked it. In the first grade, really. So, but he was still head coach while I was coming through the junior ranks there, and I did go on to a few years later when I went to play at St George.
That's right. Yep.
Play under Brian, and it was good. It was it was tough at times. I probably had to try that little bit harder.
I was about to say, that sibling rivalry, was he a bit tougher on you than just like I am with my little brothers?
Yeah, I think so. And probably overcompensated at times, making sure that he only selected me if really necessary, and if I deserved it entirely. And we worked well together, really. And I then went on to coach with him together at Parramatta some years later.
Yeah, that's right.
And we were a really good partnership.
So would it be fair to say, were the seeds sown for you being a coach back then, or did you always have a niche in your mind that you'd be a coach one day?
Yes and no. Yeah, it's a funny one, Ash. I think because I wasn't such a great player in terms of physically, I wasn't fast, strong, or overly skillful.
Yep.
I could kick all right and tackle all right.
Yeah.
But I knew what was going on.
Sounds a bit like me.
No, I could kick all right.
Yeah, I think
I got you on
bugger
that
off.
one.
Yeah.
But I think what I learnt to do is get people around me play as best they could. By the way I talked to them on the park.
Yep.
And I worked out if I got people around me to play well, that makes me look better. And more chance of keeping them in position for the following week.
Yep.
So, in reflection, I think I was coaching many years before I retired, if you get what I mean.
Definitely, yeah. I've played with a few guys like that. They make the other guys around them, so worked up and play so well that their job, it makes their job a lot easier, and they're probably not.
Well, Gids has got some of that at times, hasn't he?
Certainly.
He's certainly one of those players that, he's got way more ability than what I did. I'm putting him in a different category to me, but there's certainly players that you like to play with because of the way they talk and the way they organise and the way they don't have to be.
If I might say, they don't have to be the best player, but they fill you with that much confidence that you know that you'll play well that weekend they're in the team.
And could read play. I could read play to a large degree, and that helped. So I think I was coaching, but having a brother who also coached and see him develop. I'm 13 years younger than him.
Yeah.
So I got to see a lot of his career behind the scenes as well as on the scene.
Yep.
So I got to see what it took at home and what sort of commitment, and a lot of people don't realise, and players even don't realise, they finish training and then they go home and they're done for the day. Yep. When some of them go into coaching, they then realise how much more that needs to be done.
First through the door, last to leave.
That type of stuff. Yeah. So, I had the pleasure and insight into coaching behind the scenes as well as doing some. And I've got to mention my nephew at the moment. Because
Rowan.
Rowan at Bradford. I can tell you, that kid. And when he was a kid, he's now 35 or whatever he is now, right?
Yeah.
But from the age of 10 or 11, you could have a real intelligent rugby league conversation with him, and that's from being around the game and being in a coaching environment.
So
so he's been brought up on coaching.
Yep.
Even though he probably didn't play to any great levels
because he was with you at Parramatta there too, wasn't he?
No,
and the Roosters.
No, that Keegan did some work with the Roosters.
Was he at the Roosters? Sorry, yeah. Got ya.
And Keegan worked at Catalans.
That's right.
Rowan's been at London Broncos and he's been at Newcastle and also Gold Coast.
I was about to say, yeah, Titans. I remember, remember him up
so
there.
he's done a fair apprenticeship in Australia as well.
So fast forward a few years from your playing career, coming to England. How was that? How did that come about, and how'd the wife and kids take to that?
Loved it. Well, loved it. I'd had a short stint in not coaching, in playing at Warrington in '96. So we had a little taster of it in '96, my wife and I, and then the opportunity came to come back over in the end of 2000 to Huddersfield, who were the worst team in the competition at that stage. They'd come rock bottom for the last few years, but I was ready to coach a team. I was ready to be a head coach. So no, my wife has embraced it. We've since been here 16 years. My children were only babies, so they don't know much different.
Too much different,
They've grown up in this country, but as you know, it's a beautiful country and it's a great place to live. And we're both proud Australians and proud of our heritage. But when you get to live in a different culture and you embrace it, and a different sort of climate even, and you embrace it, you see the best of it.
You do, yeah. If you give it a chance, you'll find you'll have a better time, I think.
Absolutely, and you guys, and Kurt have settled in as good as any Aussies that I've been involved in, as well as my own family, because my own family embraced it in the same way. We were here because we wanted to be here, and we've been here 16 years now because we want to be here, and this is our home now. We look back at Australia and very proud of where we were brought up, but for me and my family at this stage, my daughter, she's contemplating going to university over there, but the rest of my family's got no desire to go
back.
Well, this is our home.
Well, that's funny you mentioned that, because I just got interviewed before and they say, "Oh, do you ever miss home?" And I honestly said, well, this is home to me. You know what I mean? Like I'm not here forever, but I'm one of those guys where I lay my head's home, and I've got my wife and my kids here. They're all settled, and I can't. Whenever everyone says, "Oh, do you miss home?" Well, no, I don't, because I feel this is home. Right. For the time being. This is home.
That's right. It's probably friends and family that you miss the most about it. Well, certainly for me, it's people ask me about the climate, and it's too hot for me here today.
I saw you melting out there. Is that why you come in about 20 minutes early?
I'm not a sun worshipper, so this country suits me. But it's some friends and family, but you make new friends as well.
You do.
And you can nowadays you can talk to family over all sorts of devices, and all that.
It's not like the old phone call back. It's there's Facebook, there's FaceTime, and this year, mate, how do you think things are going so far?
Yeah, we were pretty solid early on, and we were performing fairly consistently, even though some of those games we weren't ripping it up. We were still finding a way to come out on top, and then we just hit a little patch there, I reckon, where I lost a bit of that. We lost a couple of key players for a few weeks, and I just lost some of that early season confidence. Some of that confidence about our defence, I reckon. We've been pretty solid and hard to score against most games this year, and we lost that for a few weeks.
Agreed.
I think it hurt us, but we've worked hard to regain some of that over the last couple of weeks, and this is the part of the season where you really want to get into form and then kick on. So it's whilst we don't want to accept it and we don't want it to happen, most teams go through a little patch at some stage. You try to keep that to a minimum, but hopefully we've had our little patch and we can kick on now. And
this weekend, Hull FC coming to our house, first, second. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, good challenge. They've been consistent. I think they've won 11 out of 12, or they're up around those sort of consistency, and I'm going to say they deserve to be where they're at the moment. They have been the most consistent team. What I'll also say about them is probably a bit like us in some of those early rounds, not at their very best at times, but still coming through with a win, and that's a good team that can do that. So a lot of respect. I think they've recruited well from last year to this year, and I think their new recruits have settled in well, so they're going to be a tough opponent. And but I think we can be a tough opponent on our day as well.
I was just about to say, these are the teams that you really, you set your bar, you set your bar up there, and this is where the teams where you want to play. You want to prove yourself against the best, and as you said, Hull FC have been probably the best team, or one of the better teams in the last few months.
Yes.
The way we train today, everyone's really on. We know there's a big match coming up. But without getting too ahead of ourselves, we've got a couple of big matches coming up here, don't we?
Yeah.
In the next few weeks. So.
Yeah, we do, and it's about focusing on each one. We know what's coming after this, but it's all the talk this week is about Hull and their dangers and making sure that we do the job that we need to do this week. We've got a fresh body back who should make a big difference as well.
Yeah.
Who's
going to learn his lesson? Yeah.
Learn his lesson. Yeah.
Definitely.
Is that? Oh, yeah. But we're not far from unchanged from last week, except the addition of you back in, which you've played every game this year, probably freshened you up, whether you like it or not. Not the way we want to go
not
about
the way it. No, but as I said, learned my lesson. Had you yelling at me last week.
Well.
But, Tony, thanks very much for the time.
Good man.
Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Good on you, Ash.